The Black People's Union, the BPU, is unequivocally a far-left Aboriginal political organisation in Australia. On their website they state, "The Black People's Union is a revolutionary organisation that aims to empower Indigenous people in so-called Australia to pursue full self-determination and sovereignty." The BPU were actually against the Indigenous voice to Parliament. Sovereignty is not recognising the coloniser's constitution, not begging to be recognised by it. We deserve better than just a voice. In a statement regarding the voice, they said, "The Black People's Union is firmly opposed to the proposal for a voice to Parliament. The BPU maintains the position that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples retain full sovereignty over the land and waters of this continent, and that the Australian government is an illegitimate occupation." Further down on the page, they write, "Our ancestors didn't fight this hard so we would settle for a voice to Parliament. Land back now." So I think you understand their position. On their demands page regarding crime and punishment, they demand the ending of the prison industrial complex and the revision of the Crimes Act to remove the punitive emphasis on crimes compelled by poverty. They also demand the establishment of Indigenous Courts that work independently of Australia's laws and judicial system and have the complete power and authority to try and sentence Indigenous people in accordance with our own culture, values and ethics. Regarding land rights, they demand that Indigenous people made exempt from land rates, water rates and other taxes associated with the use or ownership of our own lands. They demand the abolition of native title, as they say it is a token reform which can be repealed by future governments. They demand the abolition of private property. Yes, you won't own anything and you'll be happy. They demand the return of all Crown land and waters and all land and waters used as a primary resource to the custodianship of their rightful Indigenous owners. And I'm sure their last demand will go down well. The redirecting of taxes related to land and water usage and ownership paid by non-Indigenous homeowners to their relevant Indigenous Nation. Yes, if you are non-Indigenous in their eyes, your taxes will fund their cause because you are a coloniser. The BPU obviously do not like the King of England. Actually, last year, one of their members, Uncle Wayne Coco Wharton, was arrested for trying to arrest the King. They wrote, "In pursuit of his mission to serve Charles III an arrest warrant, Uncle Wayne Coco Wharton, a sovereign Cooma elder, along with a Ngunnawal elder, was arrested by the colonial police." They also claimed that there were snipers aimed at them from the roof of a nearby building. Unsurprisingly, they also stand in solidarity with Palestine, where they unequivocally support Palestinian resistance fighters to liberate their people and reclaim their land from the illegal occupation and colonial project of Israel. They essentially conflate the colonisation of Australia with the situation in Palestine and call for liberation by any means necessary. They finish with, "Death to imperialism, long live Palestine." This is the BPU's leader and one of its founding members, Kieran Stewart Asherton. As you can see on his t-shirt, he wants to abolish Australia with a picture of a burning Australian flag. On his Instagram page, he's a professor of decolonial theory at the Decolonial Institute. He posted a cartoon of a white person saying, "Don't welcome me to my own country," with him retorting, "You're not welcome here." It's clear he's not interested in reconciliation, which is backed up by a piece he published on Crikey in 2023. "We don't want reconciliation, we want a reckoning," emphasising that sovereignty was never ceded and that they do not recognise the sovereignty of the illegal invader. However, Mr. Stewart Asherton's views have come under attack, not just by the right-leaning media, but even the far left. The Red Flag website, published by the Socialist Alternative, who publish articles such as "Revolutionaries Against Capitalism and Colonialism," ran a bit of a hit piece on the BPU founder. In an article from last year titled, "Are Migrants Colonisers?" they wrote, For left-wing people, it has long been uncontroversial to welcome into Australia refugees and migrants. Perhaps not anymore. In a recent Instagram post, Kieran Stewart Asherton, president of the Black People's Union, an Indigenous activist group, claimed that economic migrants, those seeking a better life away from poverty in the undeveloped world, participate in the colonial occupation of Australia and therefore reap the fruits of colonialism and imperialism themselves and are agents of empire. They claim that his proponents are influenced by settler colonial theory, which essentially states that anyone who is not Indigenous, no matter how exploited or oppressed they may be themselves, is considered to be a privileged settler and coloniser reaping the benefits of Aboriginal people's oppression. They ultimately state that Stuart Asherton's anti-migrant prejudice is shameful, concluding that, in the end, all it does is take the focus away from the capitalist class and pit the struggles of oppressed people against each other in an Olympics-style game of identity politics, in which the starting point is figuring out who is most oppressed, rather than thinking about how we can best unite to beat our common enemy, the capitalist ruling class and its repressive state. To be fair to Mr. Stuart Asherton, he did respond to the article on his Instagram, stating, "This article was published by my dear comrades at Socialist Alternative and Red Flag, who have once again decided to reveal their true colours and the reason they aptly call their publication Red Flag." He said, "There are no limits to the lies and manipulation of organisations like Socialist Alternative." He clarifies his position on the matter. First, it shouldn't be up to the colonial occupation to decide who does and does not migrate to this continent. The colonial occupation has no right to greenlight mass migration from colonial homelands and motherlands like the United Kingdom. Second, people with Indigenous heritage who are not living in their traditional country, who are not engaged and involved with the local Indigenous community, and who haven't been given explicit permission from local traditional owners, have no authority, cultural or otherwise, to be welcoming anyone to someone else's country. Earlier in June, the BPU organised a rally in Naarm, Melbourne, to protest against Aboriginal deaths in custody, specifically regarding Kumanjayi White, who was killed while being restrained by NT police in a Coles supermarket in Alice Springs. He allegedly was stealing items and attacked a security guard. Here's some pictures from the protest. This is actually Senator Lydia Thorpe on the screen. Here's Mr. White's grandfather, Ned Hargraves. You'd think the protest would have been relatively uneventful. Well, you'd be wrong. The far-left Socialist Equality Party were also in attendance to condemn Mr. White's death. However, they clashed with the equally far-left event organisers, the Black People's Union. On their website, they published a piece recently titled "Australia, Socialist Equality Party Censored at Melbourne Rally on Police Killing of Aboriginal Man." In the article, they wrote, "At the Melbourne rally, SEP members were subjected to a coordinated attempt at political censorship by the event organisers, the Black People's Union. SEP members were harassed, their leaflets condemning White's killing were ripped from their hands, and they were slandered as colonisers and white supremacists. The BPU escalated the confrontation by involving police, forcing SEP members to leave." Remember, these are two far-left groups who were there for the same reason, to condemn Aboriginal deaths in custody, but yet they were still fighting one another. The Socialists claim that the BPU's attacks stem from the racialist foundation of its politics. It treats all non-Indigenous people, including working-class youth and socialists, as part of a homogenous white settler population. But their biggest accusation of all on the Black People's Union, the BPU does not, however, represent the interests of Aboriginal people and marginalised social layers, but rather the thin layer of the Aboriginal elite, well-off business people, academics, media personalities and public servants who do not in any way challenge capitalism, but rather seek a greater slice of the pie within it. For this grasping social strata, Racial politics are the means for promoting themselves as the representatives of the Aboriginal people as a whole to advance their own power and privileges. My point is that even within Australia's far-left organisations, although they do agree on lots of things, one thing they seem to adamantly not agree on is how to deal with Indigenous relations.